Hello everyone, this is Rob, and I'm the father of these wonderful boys who are eating copious amounts of ketchup. To start out, I want to mention that autism is a spectrum, and you may notice differences with the quirks you may have, and that's quite alright. Some of you not on the spectrum may even experience these quirks, and that's fine too. We just notice these traits are more prevalent with those on the spectrum. Also, this video is not intended to be a guide for autism diagnosis. Rather, we want to highlight some of these differences, not to belittle or disparage autism, but to celebrate and understand key differences to help educate the masses, and also to have a fun time sharing this list. Starting at number 5 is obsession for ketchup. So as you can tell, ketchup is a big part of my son's lives. All of my boys love the stuff, and if there was such a thing as a ketchup pool, I'm sure they'd have it drained within a week. I can't tell you why they love ketchup so much. Is it the high fructose corn syrup? If that's the case, then why don't they like jellies or applesauces that add corn syrup? Is it the tomato paste? It's odd because none of them like plain tomatoes. I guess some mysteries we will never know. At any rate, many in the autism community adore ketchup, and that's especially true of my sons. So moving on to number 4 is walking on tiptoes or tippy toes or toe walking, whatever you prefer to call it. All 3 of my sons do this. Naturally, we are concerned about their leg muscles and feet developing properly, and we try to remind them to walk flat-footed, but sometimes they just won't have it. Why does this seem to be a commonality among those on the spectrum? Many people believe it's a result of a dysfunctional vestibular system, a fancy way of saying their balance and coordination are struggling. There are treatments for toe walking, such as casting or wearing special prism lenses, but they are currently experimental, and as a general rule, we try to avoid risky trial testing on our boys, or anything else for that matter. So number 3 is something you might not notice at first glance, but look closely at my kids' feet and you'll see that they put their right shoe on the left foot and the left shoe on the right foot. Why do they do this? Well, when I ask, they simply say they prefer it.
Alistair, did you put on your shoes by yourself?
Yes.
And they're on the wrong feet, but is that more comfortable for you?
Yes, so it's comfortable.
Does it have something to do with their arches? Is this similar to the reasons they walk on tiptoes? Something to do with sensory processing? When you ask others in the community about this, a lot of them are trying to figure out this enigma as well. If you know why you do this, please leave a comment. As for number 2, a lot of you who are familiar with autism have seen people on the spectrum either rip off scratchy clothing tags or wear their shirts backwards. This one makes more sense to me because I understand the sensory issues associated with clothing tags. But when I asked my kids, it goes beyond tags. Sometimes they like the way the shirt feels in reverse. Sometimes they like the way it looks when the larger logo is on the front instead of the back. Just like the other quirks on this list, all 3 of my boys have done this, and even Ian, at age 14, still wears his shirts backwards from time to time. The real question we should be asking ourselves is, do autistic people have it right? And has society been wearing their shirts wrong this whole time? As for number 1, I have a bit of a curveball. Maybe some of you have noticed when spending time with someone on the spectrum that they may hate loud noises, but they can also be incredibly noisy. Usually they make noise with vocal stems or stereotypy, which means they make loud repetitive noises to help them process sensory input. I call this quirk the electric eel effect, because electric eels can shock other creatures in the water without getting shocked by their own current. In other words, our boys can make a whole lot of noise without it affecting their sensory input. But if someone else is making the noise, watch out.
Quiet! You think it's too loud?
I realize this may seem hypocritical to some, but just like the electric eel, it's simply part of its nature and not intended to be nefarious. Scientists are still trying to figure out why electric eels can shock other creatures without getting shocked in return.
Yeah!
So there you have it, 5 interesting quirks that are pretty unique to individuals on the autism spectrum. Do you have the same quirks or different ones entirely? Please let us know in the comments section, and as always, thanks for watching.